Craig, I really sort of appreciate the insights.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it was
This
fun
is
talking with you.
no, this has been
I've been looking
awesome.
forward to a long time because I've listened to your shows and
Thank you.
I so appreciate.
Thank
I
you.
know there's a lot of programs out there and they're fun because they're talking about sports or pop culture, music or
Yeah.
whatever. But the ones I gravitate to are more the ones that help me learn and grow and as a human and
Yeah.
so I appreciate all the work you do. I know it's not easy. I
No,
did a
no.
podcast for a couple years back in like 2011, 2012 or so,
Yeah.
and it's a pain. And so
It's
I appreciate that you made it to 349 shows. It's
actually
extraordinary.
449, but who's counting?
449. Oh my God. Okay, 449. All right.
That's
Word.
fine.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to empower you to live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, and I totally appreciate you spending time out of your day to join us. Together, we'll explore the ideas, strategies, and stories that inspire personal growth and resilience. Today, we're diving deep into the critical importance of self-awareness and understanding our own issues. Now, think of self-awareness as a compass guiding you through a dense forest. If you don't know where you're going, or where you want to go, you can easily get lost among the trees. But when you take the time to understand your thoughts and feelings, you can navigate life's challenges with clarity and purpose. Anxiety, which many view as a negative experience, can actually serve as a natural warning signal, alerting us to potential dangers or areas of discomfort. It's a reminder from our mind that we need to pay attention to something important. When we embrace that perspective, we can transform anxiety from a source of dread into an opportunity for growth. In our conversation today, we'll explore the role of intention and the effectiveness of hypnotherapy. Your mindset and willingness to engage in the process can significantly influence the outcome of your therapeutic journey. We'll also discuss how practicing anxiety and fear can wire our brains to respond negatively, highlighting the need for positive self-talk and mental resilience. Just like the training for a marathon, what we practice shapes our abilities and responses. Today's guest is Craig Meriwether. He's a seasoned hypnotherapist who specializes in helping individuals navigate the complexity of his anxiety and performance-related issues. His work extends across various demographics, from students facing test anxiety to professionals managing high-stakes situations. Craig's insights will provide you with valuable tools to understand and overcome your own challenges. So now that we've got you all set, let's turn to our conversation with Greg. Enjoy. Hey, Craig, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I so appreciate you taking
Yeah.
the time to do this. Thank you.
Oh, Audley, thank you so much for inviting me. I've been looking forward to this for a while now, and so here we are. I'm ready to dive in and let's talk.
Here we are, and you know, and so thank you again, because I very much appreciate the opportunity that I have to kind of have these kind of dialogues. And the cool thing for me is here we are, Craig. You and I are chatting, and someone else has the opportunity to, and I'm not gonna say listen, they have an opportunity to eavesdrop in what we're talking
Yeah,
about, and they potentially can take that and use that and help their lives and get to a better place. That's just like
yeah,
that's huge. And so thank you for giving me an opportunity to continue to fulfill
yeah.
my own personal mission. For your presence is greatly appreciated. Now, on this podcast, one of the things that we talk about always and often is really that best audacious life that we talk about, and it's a pathway. We're all on our own individual pathway, and on that pathway, it's going to have their own pitfalls, obstacles, challenges, what have you, and really, it's how we choose to navigate those and get through them, and get to the other side of the adversity, because that's generally where the greatness lies, right? So if you're after that greatness, you're gonna have to go through some tough stuff to get there, but it is absolutely wonderful to be on that other side, and it's a journey that we all go through.
Yeah.
You specialize in assisting people with anxiety
Yeah.
and navigating that entire world onto itself. And it is in a world onto itself. So many are affected by that. So many are impacted by it. There are many who don't know that they're impacted, but they are. And so maybe as a starting point, Craig, I get you to maybe invite you to introduce yourself to our audience
Okay.
and talk a little about the work that you do and what you've done to get to this point that you're at now.
All right. Well, thank you, Audley. Yeah, I really appreciate what you do with this show because I think in my own worldview of life with a capital L, it seems like we're on this long journey of learning and training and becoming more human, if that's the way to describe it. Sort of like we're going from kindergarten to get our PhD, but it just doesn't get easier just because you're getting into seventh grade and eighth grade and ninth grade. There's always, challenges to the homework and the reports you have to turn in on time and the final exams so you can graduate into the next level up to the next grade. And so I kind of been always thought when I was a little kid, I always thought once you're an adult, it gets really easy. I mean, look how
Sure, right?
easy it is for adults. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to do all this stuff.
It's an
Um,
easy life after that. It's
yeah,
coasting.
yeah. But anybody who's like, you're getting up into the upper levels of high school, then maybe you go to get your bachelor's or maybe master's or my God, maybe you get your PhD. It doesn't get easier. It's kind of harder. And so I appreciate what you do is we may be able to have times of peace and joy and happiness, but it's really about the resiliency and the resourcefulness, I think, that we need to learn and ground ourselves in that helps us move through
Right.
those challenges that you were just talking about. In terms of my own story and where I am and the path I'm on, I guess, is I'm a hypnotherapist. And that is basically helping people deal with issues like anxiety or maybe past trauma, even if it happened in early childhood. This is not
Hmm.
talk therapy. It's a different kind of modality. And while it may be somewhat similar to talk therapy in that we can work with those mindset issues of maybe lack of confidence or self-esteem issues or anxiety or worry or anger issues, I'm not here to fix anybody because what the power is within these techniques is that you're going to fix yourself. And who better to know what the problem is than you? And more importantly, who knows better what to do about it than you? And
Well, Craig,
and
sorry
so
to
with
jump in here. Sorry
oh
to
sure.
often so much part of our problem where we're looking for it outside and it's really within.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, and I'm not here to disparage talk therapy. I think that's very important. I think you need as many coaches as you can to win the gold medal. But I think in terms of the people who end up coming to maybe do hypnotherapy with me or maybe somebody else, is they've done the talk therapy, they've done these other modalities, been to the doctors, and nothing is working because there may be deeper seated issues that are, behind that veil of the subconscious mind. And with talk therapy, again, while it can be very helpful and very useful, I've done it myself. I think it's an extraordinary way to just kind of get a second pair of eyes on something, get that coaching, whether it's for relationships or just emotional issues or things like that. Oftentimes, though, people are hurting and they don't know why. And so
Right.
they look to someone else. Okay, I'm going to go to this person and they're going to tell me what my problem is and then they're going to tell me how to fix it.
Fix it.
And then 2 years later, you're still there. Yeah, you made some progress, but the initial hurt and pain has not been resolved. And so, what's fascinating about hypnotherapy is that Dr. Irving Kirsch calls it a non-deceptive placebo. And placebo, I'm sure many of your listeners know that it's that aspect of mind that can heal the body and heal emotions and heal mindset issues. And it's that aspect of a pharmaceutical company doing, let's say, a new research on a high blood pressure medication. And half the people are going to get a sugar pill. They're going to get fake medicine
Right.
because the way the researchers describe the medication, the way they have the little information packets that they send out to people who want to be in the trial, the way that people sign the waiver, the people in the white lab coats, the clinic they go to do this research with the medication. This is all influencing themselves to heal. And so they have to account for that because they know people will heal themselves. They know mind will literally heal the body, heal emotional issues, and heal mindset issues. And so they have to account for that because all those aspects of it, the white coats, the just even the smell of a medical clinic, the color of the pill, they know will influence healing. And so they have to account for that. So half the group will be tricked into
Hmm.
healing themselves. And let's say 30%, just for an example, let's say 30% of the people getting the sugar pill get better. They've literally healed themselves because there's
Yes.
no medicinal value in the medication they're taking.
Right.
They've healed themselves. They've tricked themselves into doing it. Let's say the other half getting the real medication, let's say 40% get better. Well, they have to subtract 30% because maybe they were also influenced through the pamphlets and the white
Right.
coats and the smells.
Yep.
They were also influenced. The medication had nothing to do with it. They healed themselves. So really only 10% got better on the real medication. That's good enough. They'll put it on the market for at 80 bucks a pill. But what no one kind of really looks at is that 30% of people healed themselves,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know? And so what hypnotherapy helps you do, what Dr. Irving Kirsch is saying, hypnotherapy is a non-deceptive placebo. We're not going to trick you into doing this. You're going to do this on purpose because we know you
Hmm.
can do it. It's been proven over and over and over and over again. And so we use those aspects of mind, body, spirit uh, to affect healing. And again, I'm not here to fix anybody. And hypnotherapy in and of itself doesn't fix anybody. You fix
Right.
yourself because you
Right.
know what the problem is.
Right.
Let's say you mentioned anxiety. What's interesting about these feeling states that we sometimes find ourselves spinning in, chronic anxiety or anger or worry or overwhelm, fear, is that these are warning signals from our mind to get
Right.
our attention that there's danger somewhere.
Yes.
And like if somebody pulls the fire alarm in a building, the sirens go off, the strobe lights go off, warning everybody that there's danger, you need to get to safety. Well, we also have a warning system. Only instead of lights and sirens, we have feelings. The feeling state of anxiety, the feeling state of fear, feeling state of worry and overwhelm and anger. These are warning signals from our mind that we're in danger. The big problem is that the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And so this is most noticeable during a nightmare. If somebody's having a scary dream in the middle of the night,
Hmm.
and it could
Hmm.
be something super realistic, like a war veteran having a PTSD dream
Yep.
about the war, even though it's 30 years ago. Or it could be something super ridiculous. It's stupid. It's dumb, like a gigantic cheeseburger's chasing you down the street throwing coconuts at you. It's dumb. It's not going to happen ever. But your mind can't tell. So even if it's super realistic or super stupid, you're still comfortable and cozy and
Right.
lying in bed,
Yes.
but your mind thinks you're in danger. So it'll start turning on the stress response. And this is it's not easy to turn on the stress response. Your brain has to start creating that adrenaline and cortisol, those hormones. And you've probably heard the crazy stories of grandmothers lifting cars off of babies and things like this.
Sure.
That's adrenaline doing that. 300% more blood is moving to the big muscles of your arms to fight, 300% more
Yes.
blood to the big muscles of your legs to escape. It's got to come from
Yes.
somewhere. So
Yes.
it's turning down your immune system, it's turning down the power on your digestive system, all because of cheeseburgers chasing down the street, throwing
Right.
coconuts at you. But it's
Mm.
it's that shoot first, ask questions later safety protocol. And so you can imagine it literally through thought alone, you have changed your physiology. So you can imagine what's happening in your waking world. And so anxiety and fear are not bad things.
Right.
Anxiety and fear, that's what keeps you from walking down that dark alley at midnight, even
Yes.
though it's a
Yes.
shortcut home. I live in Arizona, up in the mountains of Arizona, but down south in the desert, you could be walking out on a beautiful trail out in nature and there's a rattlesnake in the trail.
Right.
That's a real possibility. But that rattlesnake's not your friend. You want to move away from that. And that fear and that anxiety of hearing the rattle or seeing the snake or just like you jump back, you want that. It keeps you from peering over the edge of the Grand Canyon too far and falling in.
Sure. Sure.
So
But Craig,
It's
I
not
gotta
that
tell you, I gotta tell you, Craig, it's an important message that you share in terms of what fear and anxiety can represent in your life
yeah,
because they're typically seen in a negative sense. They're
yeah,
demonized. It's seen as a bad thing and something that you don't want anything to do with. But
yeah.
as you've articulated, there are some benefits.
Yeah, your subconscious mind's not against you. And so even though you may be exhausted by the anxiety or the fear, it may just be running in hyperdrive because it's running off uh, uh, instructions that maybe aren't so resourceful to you. And a lot of people, they get these instructions because of what they've experienced in the past, maybe when they were a kid, and because they grew up in a home that wasn't very safe, and there was, maybe abuse in the home or something else was going on. And the best thing that child could have done was to make themselves small and keep quiet and to hide. That may have been the best thing the child could have done to keep themselves safe, but that's not going to work when you're an adult. But the instructions got set up a long time ago, but you're allowed to change them. It's just that nobody has ever told you you can change them. And so a lot of us are running around, experiencing the world using the instructions set up when we were hurting as a child, when we were 8 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. And again, that might have been the best thing we could have done and should have done to keep ourselves safe. But until those instructions change, why would anything change? It's sort of like computer code. If oddly you're writing computer code for your business, let's say,
Yep.
and you're writing a accounting program and you put in there 2 + 2 = 5. Well, it doesn't matter how much you type on your keyboard or slam the keyboard with your fist out of frustration, or talk to your friends about how unfair it is that 2 + 2 = 5,
Yep.
or talk to your
Yep.
therapist, or take a Sharpie and write on your computer screen 2 + 2 = 4. It's not until you go into that computer code, look through those lines of code, say, oh, there it is, 2 + 2, that's weird. You erase it, you amend it, you edit it, you delete it, and you write in there 2 + 2 = 4, press save. Now your equations equal out. And that's a nice little analogy for what hypnotherapy is. It helps you go through that computer code and find where those instructions or the hurt and pain are encoded, and like, okay, well, you have the power to undo it. You're the one who wrote it. And not to say
Yes.
it was your
Yes.
fault or
Yes.
that
Yep.
you're,
It could have been a
blame the victim or
mistake,
anything
right?
like
Like it
that.
could have been a
Yeah.
mistake. I think I
Yeah.
think the process the process is forgiving yourself for
Mm.
reasons that for why you got to where you're at, right? It could be a
Yeah.
complete accident. It could have been who knows,
Yeah.
and to a certain degree, I don't know how important or relevant that is to the healing process, anyways. But I think just to be able to give ourselves some grace. For how we got there, it wasn't your fault. You weren't trying to, sabotage yourself. You weren't trying to do harm to yourself. It's just one of these things that happens, right?
Yeah. 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 And we sometimes, because of that hurt and pain, and that's part of the safety protocol our subconscious mind sets up, is we don't want to experience that hurt and pain again. So it holds on to those files, like in a large filing cabinet in the subconscious mind.
Right.
So
Right.
all that hurt and pain we've been through, the trauma, the fears, the things that have caused anger, humiliation, embarrassment, we hold on to them all because we don't want to experience it again. So all the information we bring in through our five senses during our day, what we hear, see, taste, touch, smell, is being filtered through that filing cabinet. If anything triggers one of those files, we'll get the warning signals, the anxiety, the fear, the anger. And it was just trying to warn us that, look, this looks similar, vaguely similar, but it looks similar enough that we think there's something wrong here. And you need to find some safety or deal with the situation. But unfortunately, it doesn't give us like a printout of what the situation is, and
Right.
we're just like,
Right.
I don't know why I'm anxious. I just feel anxious. And and so what again, because most of that stuff's behind that veil of the subconscious mind, maybe talking about it, while again, that can be useful and helpful and help you feel better, it's not resolving the issue because you may not actually know what the issue is consciously. But subconsciously, you do because, again, it takes great effort to turn on that stress response and to
Right.
armor yourself in that way. So you know why you're doing it. It's
Right.
not doing it randomly, it's doing it on purpose. So
Hmm.
your subconscious mind knows why it's doing it because again, your subconscious mind is for you. So it doesn't want to be grinding in first gear with the stress response. That's not good for the body.
Right. That's right.
It takes
That's
up
right.
too much energy,
Yes.
and that's not efficient, and that's not healthy. And so, but it's important to stay alive and safe and protected in the moment. But it doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to carry that heavy armor around all the time, but it will for self-preservation.
Gotcha.
So what hypnotherapy, by just relaxing, in just a little bit of sitting back, closing your eyes, taking a few deep breaths in, you can access those files and get rid of them if you want or need or
Mm.
whatever you need to do. And that's why this can happen very quickly. It's because you know what the problem is and
Yep.
you know what to do about it.
Yeah,
So what I generally tell people is typically I just see people 3 or 4 times.
mm.
This isn't talk therapy where we're going to be doing 80, 90, 100 sessions over 2 years.
Yes. Yes.
It's like
Yes.
we're gonna be done with this.
Right.
Because again, I'm not fixing you. I'm just going to help guide, facilitate, lifeguard while you're swimming around in the pool, and you're going to do the work. And that's why this
Yeah.
can happen quickly because you know what's wrong and what
You're
to
you're
do.
the expert in your own life.
You're the expert in you. You
Right.
know?
I want to talk about the approach or mindset going into hypnotherapy. Um, how much of that is a belief that I believe that this is going to assist me, like as opposed to going, I'm being skeptical about, is this thing going to work? I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Like, how much does that impact the process?
Doesn't at all. You don't have to believe any of it. You don't have to believe you can go into hypnosis. I mean, there's a certain aspect of intention. So like I can't walk, and this is the problem with like what you see on the movies and TV shows and uh, like Las Vegas comedy shows and things like that.
So you
There's
don't you don't
this,
have people clucking like chickens, is what you're saying?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see those shows and they're up there singing like Elvis Presley and dancing like Michael Jackson and barking like dogs and riding roller coasters, and it's funny. But understand everybody that got up there volunteered to be up there.
Right.
It's about their intention. Their intention is to have a fun evening. So they volunteered. They stood up and waved their hands up and down, trying to get the hypnotist's attention so they can be one of the people on stage. I don't want to do that. I'm guessing oddly you don't want to do that either. Maybe most of your audience doesn't want to do that either. But there's a certain segment of people that they're exhibitionists, they're extroverts. They just want to have a good time. And look at them at the end of the show. They all have a big smile on their face. They had a
Right.
great time and they'll remember it for a long time. But you might see videos on YouTube of, this hypnotist walking up to somebody on the street, on a busy street corner in New York or Las Vegas or somewhere and just yelling at them, sleep. And they kind of keel over. It's like that's not a thing. That you can't do
Right.
that. I dare anybody to walk up to somebody on the street and yell sleep and see what happens. You're going to get punched in the face and that person's going to run away. Uh, it doesn't work that way. You can't
Right.
make anybody do anything they don't want to do. That doesn't mean you have to believe in it, but if your intention is to heal and you go all the way to the point of making an appointment and showing up to the session, you're going to heal.
Right.
And I can say, oh, we're going to use these visualization exercises. Like, well, I don't think that's going to work, but okay, let's try it. But it's your intention to heal. Now, I can't make like let's say smoking cessation. To quit smoking, it's not 100% guarantee because some people don't want to quit smoking,
Mm.
even though they come to the session because their wife makes them come and the wife is tired of the smell and the expense and the health issues. And somebody comes to a session, well, I don't really want to quit smoking, but I just want to show my wife that I tried and I'll smoke in the garage. The intention is not to quit, so they're not going to quit. Otherwise, I can go into every bar in Las Vegas casino and make everybody quit smoking, and all be happier and healthier
Right.
and richer.
Right. Right.
I'd be able to go hypnotize my way into the United Nations and then hypnotize all the world leaders to create world peace and end war. I'd I'd hypnotize Elon Musk to write me $1 billion check. But the reason I don't have $1 billion check from Elon Musk is because he doesn't want to write me one. And so
Mm.
no matter how good I am, I can't just snappy and wave my magic
Right.
wand and make people do stuff. It's not the way it works. It's your
I don't know,
intention.
Craig. They're really convincing on television. I gotta tell you. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And just so that you really can't solve a crime in 40 minutes either, just to put that out there. Um, but actually, that's a real thing apparently in juries now,
Hmm.
is because they've watched so many crime shows, they think that CSI kind of stuff.
Right.
Uh, so if they haven't been able to prove the crime through CSI stuff, they'll just say not guilty because they haven't, because they obviously it's so easy on the TV shows. Why didn't you do it? Must not be guilty. But and that's unfortunate because this is a really great healing modality,
Right.
and the research is out there. And it's if people really want to dive deeper into this, because it's not just dealing with anxiety or fears or the trauma we may be holding on, you can deal with physical issues too, healing acceleration, and these are
Yes. Yeah.
research papers published by Harvard and Yale and in the New England Journal of Medicine and Stanford and Oxford and things. These are studies that prove the efficacy of using hypnotherapy for physical issues.
Right. Right.
There, you can one of the things that came out of the first Gulf War in the early 90s was there's a triage unit that would fly in helicopters from the front lines back to the hospital. And so these nurses would be on the helicopters keeping these guys alive, right? Because they're all shot up and blown up and things like this. And there was one helicopter that had more a higher success rate of keeping them alive.
Okay.
And so they want to know what that nurse is doing. So teach everybody else. And what she was doing is she was telling the soldier once they were in the helicopter and flying away that they were safe. You're safe. You're protected now. I've got you. You can stop bleeding now. You can
Wow.
lower your blood pressure. You can lower your heart rate. You don't have to go into shock because I'm with you. I'm holding your hand. And even if they were unconscious and in a coma, they would still do it. And so they call it, they don't want to call it hypnosis because that's a, it has a lot of baggage to that word. So they
Sure.
call it verbal first aid. And you can look up books on Amazon for verbal first aid. And basically all that is hypnotherapy. So even the person was unconscious, they were following because their intention is to stay alive,
Right. Right.
you know? And so it's a powerful, powerful thing of not only just dealing with the anxiety and the fear, but also physical issues, you
Mm.
know, of, and I'm not saying I'm come to a session and I'll cure cancer, but you can add it into
Yes.
the
The-
treatments you are having.
yes.
Yeah, keep
Yes.
going to
Yeah.
your oncologist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about the nausea? Or what about the being exhausted after treatment or things like they can help with that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But
Oh, oh,
if anybody's interested in learning more about this, there's a subsection of Google and it's called Google Scholar. So if you just
okay.
type
Yeah.
into Google, like regular Google
Yep.
Scholar, and
Yep.
all it does is research peer-reviewed studies and research that have been published in medical journals and scientific journals. And so you just type in hypnotherapy or hypnotherapy and anxiety, hypnotherapy and pain control, hypnosis and fear flying or whatever. And you'll just get hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of research studies about all it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so thanks for that. And I think
Yeah.
it's really fascinating. I wanted just to go back to anxiety for just a
Okay.
moment, and as well as the point you made about it not necessarily being a bad thing. And anxiety typically is associated with what's to come, right? So,
Yeah.
and you're
Fear in the future.
concerned or fear of the future, or you're ruminating about what you think may happen, and so when you made that point around it not necessarily being a bad thing, and I mean, I'll use for example at the top of this conversation, you said you were looking forward to this our chat today, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's you're thinking about the future, but it's not
Right.
in a bad way. So it's understanding that our thoughts really is what demonize all this stuff in us, and that's what makes
Right.
us good and bad, and us going down this rabbit hole. But I just thought this was a really really important point why I wanted to go back to that again, because for so long we've been taught, believed, thought, it was fed into us that hey, these are terrible things for us and we need to stay away from them at all costs.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ruminations is a real uh, kicker, a real gut punch because it's your mind just kind of running these simulations of what could possibly go wrong in the future. Oftentimes it may be because of something that happened in the
Right.
past, whether it happened last week or last month or 20 years ago. Or somebody, let's say somebody uh, has to give the big speech at the conference. They're giving the keynote speech at the conference, and they've never done that before. And so they're lying in bed and they start thinking about, oh my God, it's going to go. So my PowerPoint's going to be upside down. I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. I'm going to stammer and trip over my words, and everybody's going to laugh at me, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And I'm going to throw rotten tomatoes at me. And it's this rumination is really about trying to find every scenario to protect yourself from. So sort of like a pilot, airline pilot, say they have to fly into London next week and they've never been to London before. They don't know anything about Heathrow Airport. So they're going to get on a computer and they're
Right.
going to practice. What happens if there's terrible turbulence over the Atlantic? What if it's in the dark? What if I have to, Heathrow gets shut down and I have to go to some other airport? What if they switch runways on me? What if it's raining? They're going to practice every scenario. So when they actually do it, they're comfortable. They've run through every scenario and they know how to protect themselves and the passenger and the crew. Well, your mind's doing the same thing. Especially at night, we're tired, we have decision fatigue, and the mind starts, oh my God, I have this meeting next week, or I got this report due, or whatever, something going on at work or family,
Right.
and I don't know, how I'm going to deal with this, and what happens if boom, 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 and just starts spinning out of control. Well, you just, basically powered up the computer simulation of your mind to start running that stuff.
Right. Right.
So, that's a big, once you kind of become aware of that, you maybe hopefully start shutting it down. But it's not, again, in and of itself a bad thing, but it's also, as humans, we have this, the way we grow and learn is by practicing something. Well, what we practice, you get better at. So, and that's part of the problem with the chronic anxiety and fears and anger and things like this is that you're practicing it over and over again. So you're just going to get better at it. So whether you're playing guitar or saxophone or dance or martial arts or whatever you're doing, riding a bicycle, learning how to walk as a kid, what you practice, you get better at. So what if you're practicing fear? What if you're practicing anxiety? And so it's literally wiring that into your heads. And there's a research study that was done some years ago back in the 90s. And this is when the MRIs were coming out and SPECT scans, all these things where you could watch the brain in real time. And so these researchers wanted to watch the brain as it learned something. And so they picked piano and they had people come in who didn't know how to play and they showed them simple little exercises and scales and little songs you learn as a beginner. And they came into the lab to practice piano 2 hours a day for 7 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
And they measured their brains. They had the group that didn't do anything because you want that control group. Here's a group that doesn't do anything, doesn't learn anything new. Here's a group that's learning piano. What are the differences in the brain at the end of the week? Compare and contrast.
Right.
But they had a third group, and this is where it gets really interesting. They had a third group who only pretended to play the piano. And so they brought them in, they showed them the simple little scales and the exercise and the little songs that you learn as a beginner. But instead of sitting at the piano, they went over to a recliner or the couch. And they closed their eyes and they just pretended to play the piano for 7 days straight. At the end of the week, they measured everybody's brain again. And of course, the control group, nothing changed in their brain, no big mystery there. They didn't learn anything new. The group that actually put their hands on the piano and practiced, they heard the music, they read the sheet music with their eyeballs, they developed a new neural pathway in the part of the brain associated with music and learning. Of course they did, because they're learning music. So they grew new neural pathways, brain cells connecting together. Well, what's interesting is the group who only pretended to play piano also developed the same neural network in the same part of the brain. So their
Right.
brains looked like they were playing the piano, even though they'd never touched the piano. They
Mm.
didn't hear the music. They
Yep.
didn't
Yep.
read the sheet music. They didn't work the keys with their fingers, but they still wired their brains in the same exact way. And so you can pretend your way to success. That whole fake it till you make it, that's a real
Yeah.
thing, apparently.
That's a real thing.
But it also gets a little scary because what if you're practicing anxiety? What if you're practicing fear? What if you're practicing
Yes.
I'm not
Same
good
thing.
enough?
It works both ways.
It does, yeah. And so you really got to watch what you're telling yourself.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
real
Yes.
thing. And that's
Yeah.
why it's important, like what you're talking about here on your podcast, show after show after show, for what, 300 some shows. It's like it's
449, but who's counting?
oh, 40, okay. And so it's important that you watch what you're telling yourself,
Yes, yes, yeah.
and let
That,
alone other
yeah,
people, but especially yourself.
yeah.
And oftentimes what's strange about the human being is that we'll do to ourselves what we would never do to another person, like to
True,
a child or your best
true.
friend
Yeah,
or
you're right.
your mom or whoever. I was like, you'd never say that stuff to a child or to your best friend or to your mother or whoever, but you're okay with saying it to yourself. That's not good. So you really got to be careful of that stuff, especially at night. Again, there's
Yeah.
decision fatigue. You had a bad day. You're tired. Maybe life is a little rough at
Yep.
at the moment. It's like
Yeah.
you really got to watch that stuff because you
That
can pull yourself out of it.
that positive self-talk, it's so so important. What you say to yourself, how you think of yourself,
Yeah,
all of those things feed into, because
yeah,
they have an impact on your confidence, right? And so you want to fortify yourself as much as possible, because look, we all know life is a throw stuff that'll test our confidence already. So we don't need to chip it down. We don't need to wear down our confidence.
yeah,
Life will take care of that for us. We need to build ourselves back up, and that's kind of what I'm hearing
yeah.
loud and clear from you.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's super important. And even if you don't, and here we go back to that, well, I don't believe I'm confident, I don't have the confidence. I don't believe I'm good enough. It's like, that's okay. You don't have to believe it. Just fake it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
pretend.
yeah.
Again, those people were literally pretending they were playing the piano and rewired their brains. So pretend that you like
Yeah.
yourself.
Keep on
Pretend you're
pretending.
awesome.
Keep on pretending. That's
Well,
it.
yeah, why not?
The other thing I wanted to ask, Raise, I know it's something that you work with individuals is around, and you mentioned near the beginning, around testing, right? People who have
Mm,
anxiety and anxiousness and maybe fear around taking tests, and whether
yeah.
it's maybe you haven't done it for many, many years, or you've always been afraid of them. Sort of talk about that the work around helping people get over that hump.
Yeah, that was something I think a lot of us deal with. Certainly, I dealt with it in my life. I saw my son go through it. And some of the first people I worked with when I became a hypnotherapist so many years ago, one of the first people I ever worked with struggled mightily with test anxiety. And she's a very intelligent woman, and older too. She's in her 30s, mid
Hmm.
30s or so. So this isn't just a high school problem. Whether
Right.
you're a 16-year-old taking the math final exam or you're a 65-year-old who's bored and now wants to get their real estate license and needs to take the real estate agent exam. Uh, it doesn't matter, and plumbers and electricians, auto mechanics, lawyers got to take the bar exam, let alone
Yeah.
get out of school. There's all sorts of ways you have to take tests, the driver's license exam. And so I worked with this woman who was trying to become an audiologist, and she was niching down in what she in her career, and she wanted to help kids with hearing impairment issues. And I was like, what greater thing can you do with your life than something like that? But she couldn't pass the audiologist exam, and so not only does she has her master's degree, intelligent woman,
Hmm.
she has her master's degree, got her bachelor's degree, obviously graduated high school, top of her class. And now she's at a point where she wants to niche down and work as an audiologist, and she can't pass the state licensing exam. So not only does she spend a year of her life with the training and the tens of thousands of dollars that costs, and it's costing like $600 a test, whether she passes or not. And if she can't pass, she can't start her career, which has a starting salary of $80,000. So this is painful that she can't, and plus the humiliation of telling her family and friends she didn't pass again. And so, out of like a lot of people who come to hypnotherapists, it's out of desperation. You don't know what else to do. You tried everything else and worked around this anxiety around tests. And it really started when she was getting her master's degree. It didn't start in high school or even her bachelor's because she was always top of the class.
Right.
She was always the smartest in school and even getting her bachelor's degree. But she went to a different school to get her master's to go to graduate school. And it was a school filled with top of the class. And so they were all the one percenters in school. So she wasn't that special anymore in terms of, being the smartest. Everyone was the smartest. And
Right.
so she had to work harder for it, stay up later, stress more about getting, because it's average. So, being the top of the class with the report or the test or the whatever. And she learned how to be anxious around school and tests just by trying to climb to the top, and that just stayed with her. She practiced. So she got her, I don't know, master's when she was 24, 23. And about 10 years later, she says, I want to niche down to becoming an audiologist, and did the training, but she couldn't pass the test because she had practiced all that anxiety. So that
Yeah.
was one of the first people I ever worked with. And as other people, regardless of age, were dealing with test anxiety, I was looking around like, well, what kind of resources are out there? And there really isn't much out there.
Right.
Considering how many people struggle with this, and apparently, according to some statistics, 36% of people taking tests have some form of anxiety, whether
Mm.
severe or moderate or slight. 36% is that's pretty
Yeah.
intense. That's
That's
what at
significant.
least a third of the people are
Yeah.
dealing with anxiety when you see a classroom full of people taking a test. And so I was looking around, and there's not much out there. There's not very many books on Amazon. There's a couple of kids' books, like picture books, and not much else. A couple of videos on YouTube that are 5 minutes long. And so what I want to do is just put together this comprehensive course about it, and which is what Ace Any Test ended up becoming. It was going to be live workshops. And I
Okay.
thought, oh, I'll put together live workshops. I'll go to schools and this and that. And then literally as I was looking for a workshop space, it was March 2020. And
Okay.
I thought, okay, we'll start this in the spring of 2020. And of course, that all got shut down pretty quick. And
Of
so I
course.
waited
Right.
and waited and waited. And I thought, okay, I'll just turn it into an online course. And so that's what it is now.
I love it. And I think it's so relevant. I mean, there's so much. I mean, the testing covers so much, but you also think of people who maybe um, have to speak publicly. That's a big one for people, right? Speaking
Yeah.
publicly, there's fears around that, or
Well,
maybe,
with auditions too. What if you're a musician
yeah,
and
you're an
you're
audition.
not only like an orchestra, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
band or Broadway plays or the
yeah,
touring groups, even just to be a part of the cast, not even the main role, but you want to be one of the dancers or one of the background singers or background actors of a play or let alone an actor or a job interview.
yeah.
These are all tests in
Yeah,
some
yeah,
form or
yeah,
another.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I mean, but even the final performance. I mean,
Yeah,
so you do all this auditioning for this or these tests for this big moment, and you still have to perform, and there's still
yeah,
anxiety around that too, right? And
yeah.
so if you really stop and break it down, there's layers to this. It's just and go, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's the important one. Craig, I really sort of appreciate the insights.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it was
This
fun
is
talking with you.
no, this has been
I've been looking
awesome.
forward to a long time because I've listened to your shows and
Thank you.
I so appreciate.
Thank
I
you.
know there's a lot of programs out there and they're fun because they're talking about sports or pop culture, music or
Yeah.
whatever. But the ones I gravitate to are more the ones that help me learn and grow and as a human and
Yeah.
so I appreciate all the work you do. I know it's not easy. I
No,
did a
man.
podcast for a couple years back in like 2011, 2012 or so,
Yeah.
and it's a pain. And so
It's
I
not.
appreciate that you made it to 349 shows. It's
Actually
extraordinary.
449, but who's counting?
449. Oh my God. Okay, 449. All right.
That's
Lord.
fine. I told my son when I started, I had said to him, how long will it take me to get to 1,000 episodes? And we did this calculation,
Yeah.
and I think we said 7 years at one point.
Yeah.
And I said, let me see what we can do to ramp that up and see if we can pick that up and get it done sooner. And so it's been
Yeah.
fun. We're 4 years. Well, I mean, this is my fifth year now, I guess, going into my
Yeah.
fifth year. But really is
And that's top 1% too. Most podcasts don't make it past like 6 months or something.
I just talked to someone the other day, and they said like most podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's some ridiculous stat that says like, yeah, I don't even know. But the point though for me is, um, so I started this podcast because um I wasn't feeling great about myself because of COVID.
Right.
We all lost stuff, and I had lost stuff, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then when I realized what it was, I said, okay, so what's important? What is still important to me? Like it didn't take everything, and what was important to me? And I started to when I did analysis sort of my life and that reflection, I look back and I'm like, okay, all the when I looked at sort of all the major milestones, the successes, the achievements in my life, I kind of saw this red thread, and literally it was that commonality. It's audacity. Like everything that I did, I took a chance on something. I didn't or I just said, let's see. And
Right.
it was through that process of trying stuff out that I realized that, for me, the audacious spirit has been that link, that key. And so
Right.
when it hit me, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone needs to know this. Like everyone needs to understand this, right? And that's kind of what sparked like, let's talk about it more. And then you get into, and you unravel, and there's all sorts of layers to this. It goes, as you very well know, Craig, you can go deep and deep. And so you not only talk about how to be audacious, but you talk about the things that stop you from being audacious, and then the tools and the strategies, and so that's been the journey for me. It absolutely is a labor of love, something I'm absolutely committed to. And so and I gotta get to 1,000 episodes, right? So
Yes. Yeah, why not? I mean, we all need goals, and I think that's if you can set yourself up something, and even if it's audacious, it's like that was looking into the future and say, where am I going to be 7 years from now? I want to be at my 1,000th show. Maybe we can do it in 4. Maybe we do it in 5.
That's
But
it.
if you're doing 2 or 3 a week, that's possible.
Yeah, well, we're on that train. So thank you for being a part
Yeah.
of my
You're welcome.
my personal story at the end of all this. For our listeners who want to learn more about your work or follow you or catch up with you, where can we send them?
Best way is either the hypnotherapy website. I called my business Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy, which I know is a mouthful. But if you just go to Google, I live in Flagstaff, Arizona, up in the mountains, and it's a beautiful little town. But I work with people around the world. Just was working with a professional basketball player in Iceland, of all things, and
Wow.
he got my name from his friend who I was working with, who lives in Puerto Rico. So this goes everywhere because of Zoom and like kind of what we're doing
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And so if you just go to Google and type in Flagstaff hypnosis, you'll see Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy. I'll show up. That's me,
Awesome.
or aceanytest.com. That works too.
I love it. I love it. We'll also make sure that the contact details in the show notes. Again, Craig, thank you for this. This has been really, really
You're
cool,
welcome.
and I'm
It was
glad
fun.
we made it happen. We knocked it out of the park. Congratulations on the journey, and your journey, as well as the journey that you're helping others on. And thanks again for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, like your show, and I've been looking forward to this for a while. So, man, have a great rest of your year.
Will do. Let's pause that. Man, we did it. We did. Back we are here on the podcast. In our conversation, Craig emphasized that anxiety isn't entirely bad. Sorry, at least not inherently bad. Rather, it can serve as a protective mechanism, alerting us to potential threats. This perspective allows us to reframe our experiences and use our anxiety to our advantage. He also highlighted the importance of self-awareness and understanding our triggers and practicing mindfulness to manage our responses. What I personally loved about our interview with Craig was his approach to hypnotherapy as a means for individuals to tap into their subconscious and affect change from within. His passion for helping others shine through as he shared powerful stories of transformation. I encourage you to connect with Craig directly. You can find his contact details in the show notes below. He offers a range of services, including his ACE Any Test program, which is designed to help individuals conquer test anxiety. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us on another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please like, follow, subscribe, or share to help our podcast grow if you haven't already done that. Together, we can inspire more people to live their best audacious lives. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.